Behold a species that spent thousands of years eating first and asking questions emotionally later, where Roman elites turned competitive overeating into a performance art. Medieval bakers lived in constant terror of bread inspectors, and a quiet Kentucky town was suddenly pelted by airborne meat. Welcome to History Gone Weird TV Food Edition. We call it culinary history, but it is actually a staggering display of ego and chaos operating entirely without qualified oversight. Let's start with the Roman elites who treated dinner like a competitive contact sport because wealth apparently required high society witnesses. Destination: 100 AD Rome. Patricians hosted massive, endless courses of exotic animals across overflowing tables, eating for hours not because they were actually hungry, but because status required immediate metabolic proof. The richer the Roman, the more absurd the feast. And civilization discovered calories only to immediately abandon anything resembling emotional balance. Naturally, the subsequent collapse of the empire spared them from ever having to settle the final tab. It was a masterclass in high society metabolic overconfidence. From competitive overeating, civilization moved directly into aggressively regulating bread because nothing terrifies society faster than suspicious carbohydrates. Flip the calendar to 1200. England. A baker hands over 13 loaves of bread instead of 12, a generous gesture we still call a baker's dozen without realizing the extra loaf was born of absolute panic. Medieval bakers faced brutal public floggings if their bread was even slightly underweight, so they threw in a free 13th loaf as a safety margin. Because nothing inspires consistent customer service quite like the threat of immediate physical violence. It turns out that raw terror is the ultimate leavening agent. And while regulating bread is petty, at least the ingredients were coming from a kitchen rather than falling directly out of the sky like a biblical plague of raw steak. The scene shifts to March, 1876, Bath County, Kentucky. Mrs. Crouch was making soap on her porch when the sky opened up, pelting her yard with large, fresh chunks of raw flesh. Local men actually grabbed forks to taste it, declaring it was likely venison or mutton, before scientists discovered a flock of vultures had simply vomited simultaneously at high altitude. It turns out the highly anticipated blessing from heaven was just a sky-high bird cleanup crew having a bad day. Enjoy the gristle while you ponder the atmospheric trajectory of avian digestion. If meat falling from heaven didn't make humanity pause, London decided to industrialize alcohol hard enough to trigger a municipal tsunami. Rewind to October, 1814. London. A massive 22-foot wooden vat of dark porter beer burst its iron hoops, triggering an explosive chain reaction that flooded the streets with 1.4 million liters of fermented liquid. People were literally swimming for their lives in a giant pint of stout, only for the judge to rule the disaster an act of God. Because God apparently enjoys a party but remains a remarkably destructive houseguest. The brewery escaped the financial ruins while residents spent the night cleaning dark stout out of their furniture. It remains a historic high-water mark for corporate hydration. Luxury Roman banquets, fear-based carbohydrate metrics, airborne vulture vomit, and municipal stout artillery. Proof that human survival has always relied entirely on our stomachs, displaying an unbelievable amount of patience. If you're ordering gas station sushi this weekend, try to keep your expectations low. Good luck with the bacteria.